Hello T-Fam, what is up? So last fall, I went to see a showing of The Fault in Our Stars on campus. And I went to see it firstly because it was a good movie, but secondly because it was worth a cultural event credit, of which I need 25 to graduate. And everyone else in that auditorium had the same idea because it was packed. The aisles were packed and there were people standing up in the back because there were no more seats. There was a professor who spoke before the film and he talked about the nature of dealing with a family member who had cancer. And he talked about his granddaughter's fight with cancer. And he spoke about how accurate The Fault in Our Stars depicts that fight. Now, no one in the auditorium came for that lecture, but we all ended up hearing and learning from it, drawn in by this movie that we all loved. And by highlighting the issue of cancer in the movie, that professor made us watch the movie in a different way. And I think we all learned from that showing, whether we realized it or not, because of that. Right now, my college is making it much more difficult for movies to be approved as cultural events. What that means is there will be far fewer of them, if there are any at all. And honestly, they're doing this probably because we all got credit for watching a movie adapted from a John Green novel. But I think that's a mistake, and I'm making this to explain myself because on the surface, getting credit for these movies makes it look like we're cheating. I mean, it really does. But if you dig a little bit deeper, that's not the case. And I think it's a mistake to not recognize that. During World War II, there was this Nazi propaganda machine headed by a man named Joseph Goebbels. And the most effective tool that Goebbels had at his disposal was film. And he would film these epic Nazi gatherings with these giant red flags and these standards with eagles on top of them. And there would be rows and rows of soldiers as far as you could see. And Hitler would be screaming to all of them, just propaganda. And it really was epic. And German people saw that and believed in it because what they were seeing was incredible and it made them want to believe in it. And the US saw these films and said, we can do that. We can use film to our advantage. Because all these young people being drafted into the US Army, they didn't really care enough. They didn't know who Hitler was or what he was doing. And to beat this kind of Nazi machine, you had to make people care. So when the US saw these films, they said, this is what we need. Because young people pay attention to films. They like films. And the US got these professional, successful directors, the Steven Spielbergs of the time, to create these films to show young soldiers going off to war what was happening. To teach them, this is what you're fighting and this is what happens if we don't defeat the Axis powers. And these young men cared and they fought harder because of the films that these directors made. Because films speak to people. Netflix just made a documentary called The Five Came Back about these 5 filmmakers, famous, popular, Academy Award-winning filmmakers who went to war in World War II and filmed battles and created movies that showed what war was, that showed the cost, that showed victories and defeats, that helped to shape the way war was and is viewed. Film is powerful. It always has been because people care about it. They want to watch movies. You have to be a certain type of person to want to watch a documentary and be invested in it. But movies are universal. Movies shape the way we see events and the way we view things. Like Dallas Buyers Club, Brokeback Mountain, Philadelphia, The Danish Girl, and Moonlight help to normalize the LGBTQ+ community. Movies bring history that we've never heard of but should know about into the public eye, like Hidden Figures, The Imitation Game, and Milk. They showcase the true nature of war in movies like Dunkirk, Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List, and The Hurt Locker. They show us the history we want so badly to forget but should not allow ourselves to forget, like 12 Years a Slave, Amistad, and Detroit. Movies showcase the arts at their most powerful, vocal, and visual level. They showcase the power of directors, writers, actors, the teams that have to come together to create these films that become cultural and historical icons. And to say that you do not want movies as cultural events, when they themselves are perhaps the most accessible and most powerful forms of cultural content in the world and in history, is a mistake. You are making a mistake when you do not see film as a tool. Goebbels used it to instill blind German faith in Adolf Hitler. The US used it to create drive in young soldiers going to fight the evil of the Axis powers. For a century, filmmakers have done more than entertain. They change perspectives, they teach historical fact, they bring the arts into the lives of everyone who goes to see a movie on a Saturday night. They show the cost of war in vivid detail. They show the cost of humanity with visceral images that singe imprints into our brains for the rest of our lives. They make us cry, laugh, hate, and love, and they show us what it means to be human in all forms. And to say that movies are simply entertainment is short-sighted, and it overlooks the power and opportunity that exists in film. Information in the form of a documentary will draw a decent-sized crowd, but information hidden in that so much more accessible form of a movie will fill the auditorium to breaking point and fill the minds of young people with so much more than dry fact could ever dream to. You just have to put it in perspective, like that professor did with The Fault in Our Stars. Movies are cultural events, and to overlook that is to rob these students of the worlds of knowledge that they may never get anywhere else in the world. Film is an incredible tool that needs to be utilized to teach because it is one of the most accessible forms of content that we have, and it reaches people that would never be reached otherwise. And particularly at this time when the arts are falling so far by the wayside, we should be so much more invested in films. So if you like this video, please share it on social media. And colleges, please do not take movies out as cultural events. It sounds like a good idea, but it is so incredibly short-sighted. Movies teach, but only when we allow them to.